Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions: the mystery of Pumapunku, the precision stone blocks of ancient Bolivia. Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction. Not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. At an altitude of nearly 4,000 meters on the Bolivian altiplano, adjacent to the ruins of Tiwanaku, lie the scattered remains of Pumapunku door of the Puma in Aymara. Unlike anything else in the pre-Columbian world, Pumapunku stone blocks have been cut with a precision that continues to astonish engineers, geologists, and archaeologists. Perfectly straight edges, flat planes accurate to fractions of a millimeter, drill holes of consistent diameter, interlocking H-shaped connectors machined to fit together in a single specific way. These blocks were cut from andesite and red sandstone, including the extremely hard gray andesite that resists even modern diamond-tipped tools, using only, according to mainstream archaeology, stone, bone, and copper implements. The question of how Pumapunku's precision stonework was achieved is one of the most genuinely debated in ancient architecture. This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the global puzzle of unexplained ancient construction, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. Catastrophism, the idea that Earth's geological and cultural history has been shaped by sudden, violent events rather than purely gradual processes, was once the dominant paradigm in science. It was then largely displaced by uniformitarianism, the principle championed by Charles Lyell in the 19th century that the present is the key to the past, and that change occurs slowly and continuously. The pendulum has since swung back. Modern geology and astronomy have confirmed that catastrophic events, asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, rapid climate shifts, have profoundly shaped Earth's surface and life upon it. The Chicxulub impact that ended the Cretaceous is the most famous example, but it is not alone. The Younger Dryas cooling event 12,000 years ago caused radical shifts in human habitat within decades, not millennia. The Bronze Age collapse 3,000 years ago ended multiple interconnected civilizations in a generation. These events matter for archaeology because they reset the evidence. A major catastrophe does not merely destroy a civilization, it destroys the record of that civilization. Survivors carry only what they can remember, and memory degrades with each generation. After a few centuries, the grandchildren of survivors have myths where their grandparents had engineering manuals. What archaeologists find when they excavate ancient sites is not the full picture. It is the fragment that survived the last catastrophe. The full picture may be forever gone, preserved only in the ambiguous traces that puzzle researchers to this day. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades. And patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter. The core evidence surrounding Pumapunku, the precision stone blocks of ancient Bolivia, is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. Pumapunku was built as part of the Tiwanaku complex during the Tiwanaku Roman IV and V periods, approximately 500 to 1000 AD. It consisted of a large central platform of red sandstone construction and a series of elaborately carved gateway and hall structures made from gray andesite. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes. But as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly, it is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers also discovered the andesite blocks at Pumapunku were transported from the Cerro Capia quarry approximately 90 kilometers away and from the Copacabana Peninsula approximately 10 kilometers across Lake Titicaca. The largest andesite block at the site weighs approximately 131 metric tons. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this, and that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine. The precision of the stonework has been quantitatively measured. Straight edges are accurate to within 0.5 millimeters over lengths of over a meter. Flat planes are similarly accurate. Drill holes of consistent 6.35 mm diameter appear on several blocks, with the holes beginning as tapered starts consistent with a drill bit entering the stone. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation. But the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, mainstream archaeologists attribute the precision to a sophisticated system of stone-on-stone abrasion, guided by templates and accumulated craft expertise. The Tiwanaku culture had centuries to develop their stoneworking techniques, and the best craftsmen would have been dedicated specialists. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain within the accepted framework. These are not fringe commentators. They are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of alternative researchers have proposed that the precision required rotary cutting tools, metal blades harder than modern copper, or water-based abrasive cutting systems. None of these proposals has been experimentally verified in a way that demonstrates the specific precision seen at Pumapunku. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding. The site was heavily damaged by Bolivian railway construction in the 19th century. When the blocks were used as railroad ballast, the original layout of the complex has been partially reconstructed by archaeologists, but many blocks are no longer in their original positions. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes. But as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a consistent and documented pattern. Equally puzzling to investigators, the H-shaped connector blocks at Pumapunku, similar to those at adjacent Tiwanaku, were precision-cut components designed to lock structural elements together without mortar. The interlocking geometry of these blocks is sophisticated enough that archaeologists have identified specific original pairings. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological error. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations. And in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. we are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain Pumapunku, the precision stone blocks of ancient Bolivia. This is where the debate becomes most intense, because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that Pumapunku's precision stonework was achieved through sophisticated craft specialization using stone-on-stone abrasion, copper tools, and template-guided shaping over extended periods by highly skilled craftsmen working under institutional direction of the Tiwanaku state. This is the mainstream archaeological interpretation. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence, but it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that the precision of Pumapunku's stonework, particularly the flat surfaces and consistent drill holes, cannot be replicated using conventional Stone Age techniques, and implies either advanced hand tools not yet identified archaeologically or a manufacturing process whose nature is genuinely unknown. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that Pumapunku's construction reflects knowledge of mechanical precision that was transmitted from an earlier, more advanced Andean civilization, and the Tiwanaku builders were applying techniques they inherited rather than invented, which is why the same precision is not found at most later Andean sites. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree. That is normal and healthy in science. What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers, working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding Pumapunku, the precision stone blocks of ancient Bolivia, does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes precision measurements of Pumapunku blocks published by researchers including Alexei Vranish confirm that the tolerances achieved are within the range of very skilled craft production using hand tools and extended time, though they are at the upper limit of what such methods can produce. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented copper chisels and stone abrasion tools appropriate for the stonework have been found at Tiwanaku construction contexts, confirming that the material toolkit for fine stoneworking existed. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed the consistent diameter of the drill holes 6.35 mm across multiple blocks implies the use of a standard tool consistent with either a consistent drill bit or a consistent template. Either interpretation is consistent with sophisticated craft organization. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding Pumapunku, the precision stone blocks of ancient Bolivia. Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. Pumapunku remains one of the most debated construction sites in the world, partly because genuine questions about its production methods are unresolved, and partly because it has been adopted as a central exhibit by ancient astronaut enthusiasts who attribute it to extraterrestrial builders. The extraterrestrial hypothesis is not supported by any physical evidence, but the genuine questions about Pumapunku's production methods deserve rigorous experimental archaeology rather than dismissal. A concerted effort to replicate its precision stonework using documented period-appropriate techniques has not yet been attempted at scale. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made. New analyses are being published. New voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of Pumapunku, the precision stone blocks of ancient Bolivia, from the historical record, through the physical evidence, across the competing theories, and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of Pumapunku ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in this documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process. And the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, We hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, please subscribe to the channel. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment below telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.